First of all, my name is Srikrishna Sitaraman. I go by Sri. And I realize there are a lot of Sris. If you're Indian, you're probably a Sri too. And you just got a confusion now, but yes, I go by Sri as well. And the title of this is Start Speeching. When I named this as Start Speeching, I didn't think there were a word called speeching. But yesterday, out of the blue, I searched online and found that speeching is the act of making a speech. It's the process of giving speeches. So who knew, right? This is an ancient English word. It's an archaic English word. Can you hear me okay? Do I need to be louder?
Yes.
Okay.
Your audio is perfect.
Thank you. So we'll start off with an activity. There are going to be a few activities throughout this workshop. Please have a pen and a paper or a notepad, or yeah, those two are preferable. And please let's start off with this activity. Write in one sentence, what do you aim to achieve through Toastmasters? You're going to have exactly 30 seconds on the clock for this one. I'd like to be a great speaker. Awesome. I want to achieve presentation skill, leadership skills, speak with clarity. Yep, great ones. Good communication and presentation, communication. All right. That's the end of 30 seconds. So with that, now we know what each of us want. Let's dive in. The key problems that we all face in giving speeches, that at least I face in giving speeches, and I realize a lot of our club members also, can be divided into a few things. The first one is finding time because life is busy. The second one is about finding topics to speak on, how to prepare, and then delivering. Each of these each of these are obstacles for us. So I'm going to try to break down each of them and see how we can overcome each of these obstacles. So let's start with finding time. I used to think when I joined Toastmasters back in 2018, I used to think that I was too busy to prepare for speeches and deliver speeches. And I had work and other stuff in life, so I didn't have time to do anything else. And then life got busier, and I still did not have any time to do anything else. And then I realized that there is never enough time to do all the things. And there is no magic. There is never enough time to do all the things. But there is always time to do the right things, things that are really important to us, things that help us. So the key is that we have to make time to do the important tasks. And what's important is what helps us grow in the long run, what helps us acquire new skills or enhance our existing skills. For example, all the items that have been listed in the chat: communication, presentation, leadership, all of these skills, public speaking. So Toastmasters falls into that. And now we have activity number 2. And as you see on this slide, I have on the left a picture of a book. On the upcoming activities, I will be having a picture of a book that I found to be inspiring, related to this topic. And so activity number 2 is take 2 minutes, list your routine tasks that are not important and not urgent, such as TV, news, emails, doom scrolling, binge watching, and identify one task that you may want to reduce or eliminate to make more time for Toastmasters, such as preparing for speeches or writing speeches. You'll have 2 minutes for this one. All right, great answers on the chat. Thank you for sharing. And if you think you find time for Toastmasters, that just means you have it high on your priority list. That's great. So we have a lead on where we can find the time in our schedule that we otherwise think is busy to make some time for Toastmasters. Now that we have the time, what do we do? What do we write on? Finding a topic. And looking at a lot of other Toastmasters, I realized anything can be a topic. I heard speeches about Raising bearded dragons, those are lizards, how to raise them. Speeches about how people went on a vacation. Then I realized it can be anything. A topic can be a book or article we read, a person that we met, can be about a summary of our recent travels, a new thing that we did. Did you do sky jumping, skydiving, bungee jumping? Or you could talk about yourself. That's what we start off with icebreaker. Or we could talk about others. Well, technically that's called gossip, but who cares? Just bring it on. As long as you add a message or a learning and it's useful to somebody and you're not putting somebody else down, it's always okay to talk about anything that's appropriate. And the key thing is that everything that needs to be said has already been said. But since no one was listening, everything must be said again. I love this quote by the French writer André Gide. And this gives me a confidence that I don't have to talk something unique. I don't have to have a topic that's new. I can talk about topic that people already know, because not everybody know everything. And again, everything that needs to be said has already been said. We aren't saying anything new. There's nothing like unique or really path breaking stuff that we come across all the time. But the key is, because people were not listening, we can always say it again. And most importantly, every speech that we give is about sharing an idea, a thought, an experience, or an emotion. And it's just ours. So when it comes through us, that makes it unique by itself. So just let the idea flow, let the emotion flow. Originality is a farce. All we have to do is just give the speech. And there is also a great saying that I heard: those who don't want to imitate anything produce nothing. So let's not be afraid of imitating. As long as we are not copying, I think it's fine. And I also found these two really useful quotes. One by Charlie Chaplin on the right side, that's all any of us are, amateurs. We don't live long enough to be anything else. This is from Charlie Chaplin. He calls himself an amateur. And the one by H.W. Longfellow, it says, give what you have. To someone, it may be better than you dare to think. We don't consider things as important, but others may find it important. One person in the previous time I gave this workshop, she talked about her trip to Alaska and how she did an RV trip. And she thought it was not significant, but a lot of the members found it very motivational and they wanted to take the trip to Alaska and take an RV tour, because for each person, their experience is unique and not everybody has the same experience. So let's not hold ourselves from talking the topics that we want to talk about, our experiences. I think it's great for us to talk about anything. Which brings us to our activity number 3. And for this activity, the book I'd like to recommend here is called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. So some type of speeches that I found are a personal experience where you tell a story, or we could talk about a recent travel. How was your travel? Or talk about an idea or a perspective or a book or a hobby, or talk about a friend, a mentor, or a person. So let's take 2 minutes on the clock and list 3 topics that you wish to talk about, and maybe classify them into one of these styles. 3 topics, please. Okay, we are up on the 2 minutes. So we have a way to find time in our schedule. We have a way to find topics. You already found topics, I hope. Next, preparing. How do we prepare? We have a topic. How do we prepare? One way I found was, I find a topic, and then over the course of the next few days, as I'm walking or driving or doing the dishes, I try to form the key points mentally. And once you have the key points, you can always try to connect them to form your speech. So let's do a bare bones speech, for example. You have a topic and you probably could classify it into one of these categories. Under each category, we have a few questions. Now we have 3 minutes, and we could take up to 5 minutes for this one. Pick one of the three topics that you listed and write down some bullet points that answer these questions, depending on which category it falls. Okay, so we are at 5 minutes and 30 seconds, so let's move on in the interest of time. So we have a topic, we have some key points. And these key points can be expanded as we speak into probably a 3 to 5 minute speech. And with some more preparation, we could go to 7 minutes if needed. But before that, there are a few, or I should say, three key elements of every speech, as you may already know. The first is to add a catchy title. Catchy title makes it intriguing for people to want to listen to your speech. The second is to insert a hook at the beginning. This hook will keep people engaged on what is going to happen. Even if you have a story of how you ended up in the middle of a desert, you could start off with that and just say, how did I end up in the middle of a desert? And this is the story. And people are still going to want to hear how it happened. Even if you succeeded, people want to hear how it happened. So the hook is something that we insert at the beginning. It's part of the introduction that can increase the attention of audience. And the last one is to leave our audience with a quote, question, a challenge, or a call to action. Depends on what the kind of speech it is. By adding these three elements, our speech becomes whole. We add a title that's catchy. It need not even be related to that speech, but it just needs to be catchy. A hook that will keep audience engaged, and a call to action or a final word that leaves people thinking about our speech. As they say, first impression creates the best impression, a last impression creates a lasting impression. And if you are a little bit more advanced speaker, you could also try to experiment with building tension into the speech. You have a cue, you have a hook at the beginning, but in each section of your speech, you could try to build some tension to get people to anticipate the outcome of a certain happening and then break the tension. And you could add humor. Humor is one of the more difficult things, but you could try to use humor through slides or humor through visual media. And that brings us to activity number 5. And I have 2 books for your recommendation here. One is called Keep Going by Austin Kleon. And the second book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I saw one of the audience, I think Gayatri, she had mentioned she wants to talk about this book. Awesome. So this activity is, let's take 3 more minutes. Now that you have the key concepts, the core of your speech, let's try to add a title, an opening line, and a closing line. And let's use those points as the body of our speech. Let's take 3 minutes to do this, please. Okay. I hope that's enough time. The last section. So we saw about finding time in our routine to make time for Toastmasters or writing speeches. We found how to pick a topic, how to build on the topic. And the last one is delivering. This is one of the harder parts, right? And here is a lot of times the reason why we delay or postpone on giving a speech is because we want to give the great speech. We want to make it great. And we feel we are not ready. And I saw one of the chat responses was that. And here's the truth about great speeches. I was born ready, said no speech ever. No great speech was delivered perfectly the first time. So let's write something, deliver the speech. Toastmasters is, after all, a place to experiment. It's a place where nobody judges, only evaluates. So let's write something, deliver it, get a feedback, and improve on the speech. We all started with baby steps as a kid. We stumbled before we walked. So let's prepare sufficiently for every speech, but we should be ready to give the worst speech. One of my fellow Toastmasters at my club said once, "I'm ready for my speech tomorrow. I look forward to stumbling through my speech." I thought that was a great way to think. Yes, I'm ready to make mistakes. I'm ready to be the worst. It's not about not preparing. It's not about lowering the bar. It's about the call for action. It's about a bias for action. Because even after the greatest speech is delivered, there always is a question of, and then what? What next? And the moment you deliver a great speech, it becomes history. It's one golden stone, if you may, on the road to your personal growth. It's just one stone on the road. It will stand out for sure, but it's not the destination. It's just a vista point. So even after you achieve everything you want to achieve, people will still ask, what next? So there are two kinds of mindset that we get. One is, you can say, I will give a great speech one day. Or you can say, I practice giving good speeches. The first one on the right side is wishful thinking. You want to do it, but you're not doing anything. The second one is a growth mindset. Every speech we give is a learning opportunity. We make mistake and we learn. As James Clear from the Atomic Habits said, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. I think that's very powerful because it's only the action that matters. It's the action that makes you the person you want to become. It's not the wishful thinking. I just want to add a quick anecdote about the university in Florida, where there was a photography class, and this is also an anecdote from the same book, Atomic Habits. And in this class, the professor divided the students into two groups. The first group was tasked with one goal, to produce the best photo they can. So they get points based on the quality of the photo. The second group was tasked with producing as many photos as possible. So they get points based on the number of photos, the quantity of photos they produce. Quality does not matter. And it turns out at the end of the year, the end of the class year, the group 2, which was tasked with quantity, which took a lot of photos, they actually produced the better photo of the two groups. It was not said without knowing that practice makes perfect. So it's important to give speeches. Bad, good, doesn't matter. Speech is a speech. We give our speech, and then we learn from the evaluation. We learn from the experience of giving a speech. We learn from the fear that we have while giving a speech. We get powerful with every speech. And it's about the practice, and it's about the identity that we build to ourselves, that we establish to ourselves. What is that identity? We are people who give speeches consistently. We are Toastmasters. We give speeches. We are not Toastmasters for the reason that we pay a membership fee. We are not Toastmasters because we have enrolled into pathways. We are Toastmasters because we give speeches. That's it. And one other obstacle that we have is what's called the spotlight effect. Whenever we go to give a speech, we think, oh, everybody's looking at me. Everybody's observing every tiny minuscule action that I do. They're going to watch and judge me and catch every mistake of mine. That's the spotlight effect. And it turns out, and this is based on science, there's a book that I'm going to show up next. This is called the spotlight effect. This is what our mind tells us. But in truth, people don't pay as much attention to us than they pay to themselves. each of us is embroiled in our own thoughts, embroiled in our own happenings in our life, all the problems that we have faced in the day, in the month, all the things that we're anticipating over the next few days. We are so self-centered in a good way. We are all so self-centered. We don't pay as much attention to others. So when we think that everybody's looking at us, they may be looking at us, but they are not focusing at us. So any mistake we make, nobody's going to know. And if we are nervous, we just get used to being nervous. That's part of the practice. So key takeaway from this section is, it's just Toastmasters. Relax. It's just one of the many speeches. Take it easy. And one of the many, as in, it's just 0.0000009% of your life. It's insignificant. Let's not beat ourselves over it if you deliver a bad speech. And it's important to have fun, because nobody's an expert here. Talk on any topic you want. It's fine. Nobody's going to judge us, especially at Toastmasters. That's the fee we are paying. We pay the membership so people can tolerate us and not judge us. And remember to smile, because if you're not smiling, you're doing something wrong. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. That brings us to activity number 6. And this is the book I mentioned. It's called You Are Not So Smart by David McRaney. It has a lot of these biases that our mind has, spotlight effect, and a host of others. It's a great book if you are looking for something to read. So activity number 6, deliver your speech in 3 to 5 minutes. And this is just for fun, just for this workshop. And please remember this quote from Naval Ravikant, who is an investor. He says, don't take yourself so seriously. You are just a monkey with a plan. I'm going to just take a small twist on it. Don't take yourself so seriously. We are all just a monkey with a speech. Just give it. At this point, I would like to turn it back to the audience and see if any of us want to deliver the beautiful speeches that have come up in the chat window and the beautiful ones that have not come up. Do we have a couple of volunteers? We actually have 20 minutes left. We could do 4 or 5 people. Oh, we have a hand raised. Esther, thank you so much. All right. Please go ahead, unmute yourself. If you can, turn on your video and deliver your speech.
Please very much forgive me for not turning on my video because I'm not well today. But I'll do my best to just jump in here. Okay. Teens on tracks, not drugs. As a parent, I remember what it was like when my daughter was young, especially when she was around the age of 10 years old. I'll always remember the first time I allowed her to go somewhere with a group of kids who she didn't know. And I said to her, remember, the most important thing is to be where I told you to be when I come to pick you up. And oh my goodness, my fright when I went to get her and she wasn't there. Now, this speech really isn't about what happened to my daughter, but what it is about is just the struggle with being a teen and trying to influence young people because they can be led astray. So how can we influence our teenagers to be involved with things and opening up their minds and have all kinds of experiences that maybe the kids that are saying to them like, oh, let's go do something fun, when it's really a bad thing? I started to take my daughter to nature, to parks, and helping her to experience an experience that I had had when I was a youth and I had an opportunity to go to an island on Hawaii and see the night sky and the stars and to experience what it was like to discover how many stars are actually in the sky. So I would like to encourage parents and adults, if you have teens, try to help them have social experiences because it's very hard. It's hard to get them to put down those phones, put down the computers, go away from the influencers that might say, hey, this is exciting, this is something fun to do, that's really not good for them. Get involved with them and help them have wonderful experiences. Help expose them to nature. Take them on treks. It possibly can help them experience a natural high that may keep them out of trouble and, knock on wood, keep them out of drugs. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Esther. That was a great speech. I learned something from that. Thank you so much. Is somebody else willing to jump in as well, now that Esther has broken the ice? I know Karthikeya is a good speaker. I don't know others, so I'm just calling on people I know, I recognize. So if anybody, just jump in. We don't need great speakers. We just need speakers. We don't need good speeches. We just need speeches.
Hi, Srikrishna. Yes, I love to share my speech. I was just waiting for a couple of minutes. I have a small disturbance in my home right now. So if
No
someone
problem. Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. We can come to you next if you want. Is Ananda Sen, are you willing? Gayatri, are you okay to give your speech?
I can try, but I'm not good enough.
That's the spirit.
Okay, so as I already mentioned about the Atomic Topics book, habits, sorry, not the topics. This book I have, while I was browsing through the Instagram, I found one of the Instagram user recommended this book. This was a very good book. I was some kind of low in that day, not sure what to do. Then I went ahead with the Amazon, searched that book and read a little bit of, sample pages. After I realized this looks good, then I bought that book and I read it. I'm still half of it, not fully read that book. The one thing I noticed about that book is there's so much positivity, changing your habits. So I've been reading this book. I don't have much time to read this book. I've been reading for half an hour every day. And also I'm not a good reader, so I will like take 5 to 10 pages every day, not go beyond that. So until then, every day I observed there's so much of positivity. Every instance, the author explained how to overcome, how to make habits, break the bad habits, and make a good habits attractive, so that you can, reach your goal, or you can grow in your career if you wanted to grow in your career, or if you wanted to be happy in your life. So whatever you choose, stick with that, and don't. The one thing I wanted to raise here. So I'm not sure everybody does that, but I often says something comes up, blame myself for the mistakes. So that I realized, just move on, break that habit, move on, learn from your things, and then learn something new, engage yourself, and attract the good habits. If you are dull or low, do something that interesting. These are the things, and this helped me spending more time with my kids and engaging them, even though doing house shows and other office related work, still able to manage everything. So this is one of the good book I can say. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Gayatri. That was wonderful. You were definitely underselling yourself. I can say that for sure. Because just talking about the book, yeah, you can find that on YouTube. There are on Instagram. There are people who talk about the essence of the book. But your personal twist, That's exactly the point. You gave in your personal twist, your experience of how it helped you. And you gave a great example. It's a big book. It is a big book, and you are halfway through it. And you are already living the book by reading 10 pages every day. That's Atomic Habits. Awesome. Thank you so much for that speech. Anybody else? I saw a lot of topics on. Emily, are you available to give your speech?
I'm driving.
Oh, sorry. I saw your you had all the things on the chat, but okay. Drive safe.
Yeah, that'll be my next speech. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Drive safe. What about Lisa? I don't know if you're still on. I think
I can give it a try.
perfect. Yeah, please go ahead, Karthik.
All right. Am I audible? Am I visible?
Yes.
Thank you. My speech title is Paying It Forward. Paying it forward. This is a phrase which simply means that when you receive a favor, instead of paying the person back or thanking them back, you try to help someone else. And in turn, you create a ripple effect of goodness, goodwill in the universe. And someday, whatever good that you do will come back through a small chain of events to you in some other favor. That is what paying it forward phrase means. To explain the relevance of this in my personal life, I want to start with a story which is dated to about 3000 BC in ancient India. Okay, it is based out of this epic tale of Mahabharata. A lot of us might know a lot of famous characters from Mahabharata, but one of them is very less spoken about. The name I'm mentioning is Eklavya. Eklavya happens to be a very determined and powerful student in the world of archery who ended up making his name as the most skilled archer of his times. In his story, he initially, when he was just interested, when he was a child, when he was interested in this art of archery, he learned about a teacher called Drona. And he asked his father if he could go and learn the skill of archery from Drona. His father gave him his permission, and Eklavya set out to find Drona. Now, once Eklavya reaches Drona's school, Drona is a very reputed teacher in the art of warfare, and archery being one of them. So Eklavya goes and finds Drona, and he asks him whether he can learn archery under him. Drona asks Eklavya about his background, and since Eklavya is not from a royal background, at that time, Drona refuses to teach him. So that is very unfortunate, but Drona mentioned to Eklavya that it is his duty and it's not personal, but it's just the code of honor that he followed at that time, that he was bound to teach only the princes from the royal lineage. And since Eklavya was not one of them, could not teach him. Eklavya was definitely disappointed, but he did not give up. He was determined to learn and excel in this field of archery. So what does he do? He goes to a forest and he carves a statue of mud in the shape of this teacher, Drona.
Oh.
And just by looking at this statue and practicing for years continuously, consistently, with a lot of determination and focus and discipline, he eventually masters this skill of archery. He masters it so well that one day when actually Drona and Eklavya encounter, Drona is surprised and he admits that he is better than the students who he has taught in person. What a fascinating story, isn't it? It is definitely fascinating to me, but it is more puzzling in one aspect, and I'm wondering if you also have the same question. Can someone really learn from a statue carved out of mud just with sheer intention and hard work? That is a very interesting question. And that, unfortunately, is unanswered in our documents that exist from that time, for whatever reason. How does this fit with the theme or the topic that I've chosen, paying it forward? Now just imagine Eklavya being that very determined and skillful student. Even the historical documents admit his virtual teacher, Drona, himself admitted that he is the most skillful archer that he has ever come across. Only if Eklavya would have documented his journey somewhere, his lessons, his learnings, his small wins, his failures, his method, his frustrations out there, that might have helped other students like Eklavya to follow in his footsteps. Now, someone else who might have wanted to pick up the skills like Eklavya had to reinvent the wheel by themselves. Of course, Eklavya is a proof that it can be done. You can reinvent the wheel by yourself, but it always helps if you have a certain structure and guidelines around your goal, which has been achieved by others. It is like leaving small footmarks or small indicators along a trail saying that this is a safe way, this is a hard way, and this will lead you to so and so outcome. So that, to me, is what was missing from that story. And as of 1924, right, fast forward to about, what, 5,000 years from 3000 BCE, from when this tale was set, fast forward to 1924, Ralph Smedley applied this concept of paying it forward using the platform of Toastmasters. Now, Toastmasters is a wonderful organization for learning ourselves the art of public speaking, and also sharing our learnings with other fellow members who seek to improve and excel in this art. Not only public speaking, but public speaking and leadership. And since 1924 to 2024, this is the 100th year that Toastmasters has survived and thrived across so many countries and so many clubs in so many variations, corporate clubs, community clubs, across multiple regions, castes, and everything. I find that we are fortunate enough, those living in 2024 and a part of this community especially, that we also have the advantage of social media. Why not try to take our learnings and share it via social media so that the outreach is amplified even more? You can leverage the power of social media out to faces who you might never have seen or might never even see in real life. And so many of us are consumed by spending our time on social media, just consuming, binging content. Even in probably the first question that Srikrishna asked, how do you spend your time? We saw so many answers around, how we consume content out there. So why not instead try to reverse or flip the coin and say that I want to share my learnings. Now, for me, this happens to be in the field of public speaking and leadership. And I have learned so many things over the last 2 years that I have actually been motivated enough to start my own channel, which I've called and dedicated in the name of Eklavya. And I've called it I Am Eklavya 2.0 as a small tribute to this character from Mahabharata to close the loop. So I hope that you find that inspiring and you all share your lessons and learnings. And if you like, you can always reach out and check out more content even on my channel. That will encourage me. Thank you. Thank you, Sri Krishna, and thank you, fellow members.
Thank you, Karthik, for the wonderful speech. That was amazing. Thank you. Let me see how to change my background. Okay. All right. So we have 5 minutes left, and I want to go through a small section, which is pertaining to Toastmasters. How do we take all this and actually move forward. And one of the other obstacles that I face is getting the next project on our path and working through it. So some of the things that I found useful for myself, and I think maybe it could help others, was number one, auto save your Toastmaster credentials in the browser, because that is one step forward, one less inertia to log in. And then the next is to get the PDF of the project handy. So hack your path as an autosave your credentials. And when you open your project, there is one item called complete your assignment, where you can get project checklist. And there is one more which says evaluation and resources, where you can print your project. So if you find the Pathway website cumbersome to deal with, you can always take these two documents and work through it. So log in, go to Basecamp, go to your club, click on your project, launch, 2 documents only. Download them, print them if you want, and you'll be done. That just reduces the inertia to access the project. Sorry, Kate, what?
Yeah, are you saying that we should not do the online training and use the other resources that are in the Pathway?
You can use it for sure. It's good if you can, but sometimes to log in and keep the screen open and dedicate that time is tougher for some people. So if you can spend 2 minutes only, what would you do? And still get the entire path. So Print My Project will print the entire project. So instead of going through the screens, you can get a PDF of it and you can go through the PDF.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's still the same content. Yeah.
Yeah, you can still get the same worksheets and other forms.
Yes.
And look up those separately, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the point being, just if logging into Pathways and navigating through is an obstacle, then there are ways around it. That's it. And slides are a great resource. And I leave you with this slide, which is, it only takes a few minutes, like 2 to 4 minutes, maybe. Download the next project, make a list of topics, schedule your speech, and reserve a time to prepare. Maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes, sometime in the morning, sometime during lunch, sometime before you go to bed. And be prepared to deliver your worst speech, because all that matters after 1 week, when you look back, all that matters is that there was a speech. Thank you so much. And I leave you with this one QR code. If you can, I will also post a link for a